Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today I want to talk about what was one of the greatest sets of festivals in the 1980s. People always talk about Live Aid or Farm Aid, but we never talk, at least a lot of people never talk about the US Festival, but it was a really, really fun event, a great collection of bands, and it was actually put together for the right reasons, which explains why it lost in total over a year and a half around $24 million. But that was obviously not too big of a problem for the organizer because the main organizer was none other than Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple Computer, along with Steve Jobs. And both he and Steve Jobs, they liked the music of the day. Big tech today is very different than what new tech was in the 70s and 80s. People like Steve Jobs and like Steve Wozniak really were idealistic people who founded Apple Computer because they wanted to do interesting things with technology and allow regular people from the comfort of their home to do interesting things with technology. And the mission was a success, but with every successful new idea, it becomes an old and entrenched idea where people like vulturous asset managers and lecherous politicians they get their tentacles into it. But it was still the early 80s, and there was still a sense of idealism around the burgeoning personal computer sector. And so Steve thought that he'd sort of pay it forward and create a festival where we could get together and enjoy some great music. And many thousands of people did. The first festival took place in September of 82 in weather that was hotter than hell, over 110 degrees in the San Bernardino desert that Frank Zappa knew something about. I'll just read you some of the bands that performed at that first festival. So on the closing day of the festival, you had Fleetwood Mac, who were still on top of the world as one of the biggest bands, Jackson Browne, very popular at the time, Jimmy Buffett, a perennial hit, Grateful Dead. Again, that sort of hints at the idealism of the Silicon Valley of the 70s and 80s. On the day before, you had Santana, Tom Petty, The Kinks, Pat Benatar, The Cars, one of my very favorites, Eddie Money. Really, I should do a video on him. Thanks for reminding me. Noted. Dave Edmunds and the Police were there, sort of on their final hurrah. Talking Heads, B-52s, which were very young bands at the time. Oingo Boingo, very big. The Beat, otherwise known as the English Beat. Ramones, Gang of Four. So, pretty good festival. And then in May of 1983, an even bigger US festival was held. And on the Sunday, the main attraction was, of course, Van Halen. And some have said that it's one of the best ever live performances of the David Lee Roth led lineup. And, well, some of the bands who participated in the US festival have released video, because it was all pro shot, and and some of the bands anyway have released it. Van Halen hasn't. And so bootlegs of varying quality, including some really bad, are circulating on YouTube. Will they ever release an official version from the original Monster videotapes? We can only hope. And they played alongside a lot of other hard rock bands of the day. Scorpions, who were really in their prime. Triumph, a great, great Canadian rock band. Fight the Good Fight, another band we could possibly do a video on this channel. Judas Priest in their prime, Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue, Quiet Riot. You also had Stevie Nicks, so she was with Fleetwood Mac in the in the September festival rather, and at the May festival the following year she did a solo act. David Bowie closed out that night. Again, he was sort of in his one of his many revivals at the time, the Let's Dance era, etc. Joe Walsh, always great. U2, they were up and coming at the time. So were the Pretenders, Missing Persons, Berlin, Los Lobos, a very new band on the scene, as were In Excess, Wall of Voodoo on the Mexican radio, Oingo Boingo, The Beat were back, Flock of Seagulls, because something that our politicians should know, Iran is far away. Some will get that. Stray Cats sort of led a kind of rockabilly revival. Men at Work, Do You Come From the Land Down Under? And one of the final performances by the quintessential lineup of The Clash. Now, again, the festival was considered a musical success because so many great bands, many of which were either in their prime or riding a second wave of fame, performed. And a lot of video exists, but not all of it has been officially released, which means the quality of stuff floating around out there is variable. But I think that Steve Wozniak deserves a lot of credit for putting something together for all the right reasons. He wanted to show people a really good time. No hidden agenda, no fake charities to launder money through, no corporate sponsorship as such, just him and the money he made through Apple saying, let's have fun. And it would be nice if all of it was released officially. And yep, do it on YouTube. You can make money on that. You can monetize the videos. You can avoid the costs of distributing a physical media. I would say that it would be a way to sort of rekindle the idealism around which the festival was formed in the first place. So that's an idea, but long live the US Festival. For my money, the best festival of the 80s. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Take care.